Trump said it first, but Harris agreed. If either of them are elected president, they don't want taxes on tips. But can they even do this? Is it a good idea? And how would it affect small businesses and their employees? At CSI Accounting and Payroll, we've worked with small business taxes for over 50 years. We've gotten a lot of questions about proposed law changes and how they might affect small businesses, including this hot topic from our current presidential candidates. Can Trump or Harris eliminate taxes on tips? In theory, what would this law change look like? And is eliminating taxes on tips a good thing? Stick around to find out. First of all, can the candidates actually eliminate taxes on tips? Less taxes sounds like a good thing. That's why it's important to remember that both Trump and Harris want your vote, and will try to appeal to you. Whether or not they really think they can make it happen is another story. Although we don't think it will pass through legislation, you might hope our guess age is like milk. So we still want to infer what the policy might look like. Neither candidate has elaborated much, aside from Harris saying she wants to avoid abuse of the potential policy by hedge fund managers and lawyers. It's also unclear on who this policy would affect, and it's unclear on which taxes would be removed. Would it be for every tipped worker, or just direct tips? Some businesses have indirect tipping or pooled tipping that can be distributed in different ways. There are nuances to consider here. Not to mention, employers pay taxes on employee tips too. They can even currently claim the FICA tip tax credit for enforcing tip reporting. That credit may be affected if this law passes and removes FICA taxes from tips. Another possibility would be that only employees have taxes removed from their tips, but their employer still needs to pay taxes on tips, just like before.
Did you see the memo about this?
But which taxes are affected? Would it include every kind of tax that's currently imposed on tips, or just income tax? Tips are currently subject to Social Security, Medicare, federal income tax, and state and local income tax, if applicable, for both employees and employers. Employers also pay unemployment tax based on their employees' total wages, which includes tips. The taxes that are removed from tips might include FICA taxes, income taxes, or both. So, is eliminating taxes on tips a good or a bad thing? Let's look at outcomes we might expect if any variation of this policy is passed. Would eliminating taxes on tips motivate employees to work harder because they'd be taking home the entire tip? Or would it allow them to work less for that same reason? Everyone has different motivations. What about in other roles? For example, if a restaurant has tipped servers who are bringing home untaxed tip income, how would that be justified to the non-tipped chefs? A large pay gap would make it difficult to employ non-tipped positions. As Harris suggested, a big concern is that businesses will try to shift more income from taxed regular pay to untaxed tips. The business would then pay less in taxes, if the law affects them, and so would the employees. This could be a good thing, meaning more money for the workers and/or business, but it can be a bad thing too. If FICA taxes are removed from tips, then the employee and employer aren't paying that portion of Social Security and Medicare for the employee to use. Not to mention the growing concern that the Social Security fund is becoming depleted because more benefits are being paid out than the taxes are fortifying it. Worse yet, if the employer shifts the income to be mostly tips, even less funding goes to these benefits, plus unemployment. Business owners can always opt to pay more or less into their FICA benefits, depending on their business entity. However, the average worker can't elect to pay into these benefits, leaving them with lower Social Security and Medicare funds if this law passes. If federal, state, and local income taxes are removed from tips, then there's no direct harm to the tipped worker and employer. But there is a shared societal consequence. As mentioned before, there's already a huge tip gap in the US that's left up to tax-paying people to address. There would also be less funding for public goods and services when we lose out on taxes that we've been counting on. All in all, due to a lack of details announced and a wide range of possibilities, many of which are negative, we don't foresee the taxation of tips changing anytime soon, even though both candidates are preaching it. But for you small business owners out there, you don't have to keep an eye on tax legislation. A monthly accountant and payroll specialist can do it for you all year round. If you want to learn more, click the link in the description of this video below for a free consultation. Or learn more about CSI and what it's like to work with us by visiting our website. Please subscribe to our channel if you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. See you next time with more small business updates.